What if you could build both your front end and back end entirely in Dart? With Nitric's new Dart support, you can now create full-stack Flutter apps that run APIs, store data in the cloud, and leverage a wide range of cloud features, all in one language. In this video, we'll explore why this is a game changer for Flutter developers. I'll walk through a simple but powerful example that uses Flutter for the front end and Nitric for the back-end API, both written in Dart. Let's dive right in. So I've cloned the Flutter example app from the Nitric examples repo. Here we can see a typical Flutter project but with a few extra files. The Nitric CLI uses nitric.yaml to define your project structure, including its name, entry points, and other settings. In this project, services in the libs services folder are matched with a glob pattern. Plus there's a start command for local development and a Flutter runtime set up for deployments. The Flutter runtime points to this Docker file in the project. We've set up this Docker file to allow us to mix Flutter and Dart dependencies. So what does this app do? This Flutter app allows users to generate word pairs and save their favorites to a backend built with Nitric. The backend API stores the liked word pairs using a key value store. Let's run this locally and check it out. First, we'll run the Nitric start command to start the Nitric local environment for the backend. In a new terminal, let's run the Flutter app in Chrome. Here we are, the word generator app. We can mark a word as a favorite and generate a new one. There's also a favorites page where we can view our favorite words. So how do we test our application locally? Don't worry, the Nitric local dashboard has you covered. Here we can emulate and test several cloud resource types. Let's test our favorites API. Great! We received a successful response with a JSON list of favorites. The dashboard also gives us a live architecture diagram of our application. It allows interaction with various services for testing, making it easy to onboard new team members and stay in sync with app changes in real time. If you'd like to see more, check out the real-time architecture visualizations video. Link is in the description. Alright, let's go back to the service code. Alright, I'll quickly walk you through the main service and the API calls in the Flutter app so you get a better idea of how the Nitric SDK works. First off, we're importing the Nitric Dart SDK to access everything we need. In the main function, we define an API called main. We've also applied some CORS middleware to handle cross-origin requests. Next, we set up the favorites key value store. This store has get, set, and delete permissions, which will configure the IAM permissions in the cloud environment when you deploy. Then we move on to the main API routes. First, there's a get handler to retrieve favorites, which we tested earlier, and we've got a post method that saves a favorite word to the key value store. That's it for the backend. Now that you know what's happening behind the scenes, let's jump into the Flutter app and explore how the API calls work. This app has 3 pages. On the favorites page, we are getting the context of the favorites from the favorites provider. On the generator page, we grab the context again and use the toggle favorite method to mark or unmark words as favorites. Let's dive into the favorites provider for a closer look. Here we define the base API URL, which points to our locally running API. In a real-world setup, you could replace this with an environment variable for staging or production. The provider also has a getter for the list of favorites, a fetch data method that retrieves and stores the favorites from the Nitric API, and finally, the toggle favorite method, which calls the post route on the API to add or remove a favorite. With this setup, the app stays synced with the backend, keeping your favorites list up to date. If you want to explore this example in more detail, including the full code and step-by-step instructions, check out the guide linked in the description. In this video, we've seen why full-stack Flutter with Dart and Nitric is a fantastic choice for developers. With Nitric, you can seamlessly transition from local development to cloud deployment without changing a thing. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. And don't forget, give us a star on GitHub to show your support for Nitric. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.